The words still echo in my mind like a slap that never stopped stinging. Stupid mother. She said it right there, in front of my entire family, our friends, and neighbors would gather to celebrate what was supposed to be a joyous occasion. My name is Margaret Chun, and this is a story of how my daughter-in-law destroyed our relationship in one terrible moment, and how she's now desperately trying to put the pieces back together. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. When my son Daniel first brought Jessica home 5 years ago, I thought she was lovely. She had this bright smile that seemed to light up every room she entered, and the way she looked at my son made my heart swell with happiness. Daniel had always been my gentle, thoughtful boy, and seeing him so in love felt like watching a dream come true. I welcomed Jessica with open arms. I invited her to our family dinners, taught her my grandmother's recipes that had been passed down through generations, and even helped her pick out her wedding dress when Daniel proposed. I thought we were building something special, a bond that would last a lifetime. The wedding was beautiful. I cried happy tears as I watched my only son promise his life to this woman. My husband Thomas and I had raised Daniel to be kind, respectful, and loving, and Jessica seemed to appreciate all those qualities in him. During the reception, Jessica hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for raising such an amazing man. I promise I'll take good care of him." Those words meant everything to me. The first year of their marriage was wonderful. We had Sunday dinners together, celebrated holidays as a growing family. And I genuinely felt like Jessica was the daughter I never had. I had always wanted a daughter, and here she was choosing to be part of our lives. But things started to change in the second year. It was subtle at first. Jessica would make little comments about how I cooked the vegetables too soft, or how I folded the laundry differently than she preferred. I brushed it off, thinking she was just trying to establish her own household routines. Every new wife goes through that phase of wanting to do things her own way, and I understood that. I had been young once, too. Then the comments became more frequent and less subtle. She started correcting me in front of Daniel, pointing out when I forgot something or made what she called old-fashioned choices. Daniel would look uncomfortable but rarely said anything, caught between his mother and his wife. I could see the tension building in him, the way his shoulders would tense when Jessica started one of her critiques. I still tried to maintain peace. I would smile, nod, and tell myself that this was just an adjustment period. Marriage is hard, and maybe I need to give them more space. So I pulled back a little, called less frequently, and waited for invitations rather than dropping by unannounced. But the distance only seemed to make things worse. About 3 years into their marriage, Jessica became pregnant. I was overjoyed. I was going to be a grandmother. I immediately started knitting baby blankets and booties, planning all the ways I could help and support them through this exciting new chapter. I imagined holding my grandchild, passing down family stories, and being the kind of grandmother who made cookies and gave warm hugs. Jessica's pregnancy was difficult. She had severe morning sickness that lasted well into her second trimester. I offered to help, to bring her meals, to sit with her, to do whatever she needed. Sometimes she accepted, but more often she would tell me she was fine, and that Daniel was taking care of everything. I respected her boundaries, but it hurt. I wanted to be there for her, to share in this experience, to bond over the miracle of new life. Instead, I felt like I was being held at arm's length, watching from the outside as my son and daughter-in-law prepared for parenthood without me. When little Emma was born, my heart exploded with love. She was perfect, 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, and the most beautiful face I had ever seen. For a moment, standing in that hospital room looking at my granddaughter, I thought everything would be okay. How could there be conflict when something so pure and innocent had entered our lives? I was wrong. Jessica became fiercely protective of Emma, which I understood. Every new mother feels that instinctive need to guard her baby. But Jessica took it to an extreme. She had strict rules about everything. When I could visit, how long I could hold Emma, what I could and couldn't do when I was around the baby. I followed every rule. I washed my hands before touching Emma. I respected feeding times and nap schedules. I never showed up unannounced. I bought the organic baby products Jessica insisted on, even though they cost 3 times as much as regular ones. I did everything right because I was desperate to be part of my granddaughter's life. But nothing I did seemed good enough. Jessica would hover whenever I held Emma, watching my every move like I was some stranger who might hurt the baby. If Emma fussed even slightly in my arms, Jessica would swoop in and take her, making comment about how Emma obviously wanted her mama, or how I must be holding her wrong. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Each small criticism, each moment of being second-guessed, each time I was made to feel incompetent, it all added up, but I stayed silent because I didn't want to cause problems. I didn't want Daniel to have to choose between his mother and his wife. I didn't want to be the difficult mother-in-law that everyone complains about. So I swallowed my hurt and kept showing up with a smile. Thomas, my husband, saw what was happening. He would hold me at night when I cried about feeling rejected and pushed away. "Maybe you should talk to Daniel," he would suggest gently, but I always shook my head. I didn't want to put that burden on my son. He looked tired, stretched thin between work, new fatherhood, and keeping peace in his household. Then came Emma's first birthday party. Jessica wanted to throw a big celebration, a garden party at their house with decorations, catered food, entertainment for the kids, and a guest list that included everyone from their neighborhood playgroup to Daniel's colleagues. I offered to help with the planning and the costs, but Jessica politely declined. She had it all under control, she said. I should have been relieved that I didn't have to do any work, but instead, I felt even more excluded. This was my granddaughter's first birthday, a milestone I had dreamed about, and I was being treated like just another guest. Still, I threw myself into finding the perfect gift for Emma. I searched for weeks, finally settling on a beautiful handmade wooden rocking horse from a local craftsman. It was expensive, but I didn't care. I also made Emma a photo album filled with pictures from her first year, photos I had taken during my brief, supervised visits. Each page had a little note from Grandma, expressing my love and hopes for her future. The day of the party arrived. Thomas and I dressed nicely, loaded the gift into the car, and drove to Daniel and Jessica's house with anticipation. The backyard was transformed into a wonderland of pink and gold decorations, with balloon arches, a dessert table that looked like something from a magazine, and enough food to feed an army. Jessica looked stunning in a designer dress, playing the perfect hostess. Daniel was manning the grill, looking proud but exhausted. And Emma, my sweet Emma, was in an adorable birthday outfit that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. Everything seemed fine at first. We greeted other guests, admired the decorations, and watched Emma smash into her birthday cake with gleeful abandon. I took pictures and soaked in every moment, grateful to be part of the celebration. Then it was time to open presents. Jessica had set up a gift table under a shaded area, and everyone gathered around as she started helping Emma unwrap packages. There were toys, clothes, books, and more toys. Emma was too young to really understand what was happening, but she enjoyed tearing the wrapping paper, which made everyone laugh. When it came time for our gift, I felt a flutter of nervous excitement. I had put so much thought and love into choosing that rocking horse. Thomas carried it over. It was too big to wrap, so we had tied a large bow around it. Jessica's smile faltered when she saw it. "Oh," she said flatly, "a rocking horse. It's handmade," I explained enthusiastically, not noticing the warning signs. "From local wood, completely safe and non-toxic. I thought Emma would enjoy it for years to come. And there's also this photo album I made." "Margaret," Jessica interrupted, her voice tight. "We specifically said no large toys. Our house is small, and we're trying to minimize clutter." I felt my face flush. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I thought—" "You thought—" Jessica cut me off again, her voice rising slightly. "That's the problem, isn't it? You always think you know better." The conversations around us started to die down. People were beginning to notice something was wrong. Daniel stepped closer, putting a hand on Jessica's arm. "Jess, it's okay. We can find room for it." She shook him off. "No, Daniel, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Your mother never listens. I've been very clear about our boundaries, about what we need and don't need, but she just does whatever she wants." My heart was pounding. "Jessica, I truly didn't mean to upset you. If you don't want the rocking horse, we can return it or donate it. I just wanted to give Emma something special. Something special, Jessica repeated mockingly. Everything with you has to be some big gesture, doesn't it? You can't just respect our wishes and give Emma something practical from the registry we made. No, you have to prove that you know better than Emma's own mother. The backyard was completely silent now. 40 people were watching this confrontation unfold. I could see Daniel's colleagues exchanging uncomfortable glances. Jessica's friends were looking at each other with wide eyes. My face burned with humiliation. "I'm sorry," I said quietly, fighting back tears. I didn't look at the registry. That was thoughtless of me. I'll make sure to check it next time. Next time? Jessica laughed harshly. You know what your problem is, Margaret? You're suffocating. You're always hovering, always trying to be involved in everything, always acting like you're Emma's mother instead of her grandmother. You show up with your helpful suggestions and your old-fashioned ideas, and you make everything harder. Daniel tried again. Jessica, please, let's talk about this inside. But Jessica was on a roll, all the frustration and resentment she had been holding back pouring out in front of everyone. No, Daniel, I'm tired of protecting her feelings. Someone needs to tell her the truth. Your mother is overbearing, and she doesn't respect boundaries. And honestly, half the time I think she's just a stupid mother who doesn't understand that times have changed and her way of doing things isn't relevant anymore. The words hung in the air like a bomb that had just exploded. Stupid mother. She had called me a stupid mother in front of my entire family, my friends, and a yard full of strangers. I couldn't breathe. The humiliation was so intense it felt physical, like someone had reached into my chest and crushed my heart. I looked at Daniel, hoping he would offend me, say something, anything. He looked stricken, frozen in place. Jessica, that's enough. He finally managed, but his voice was weak, too late. Thomas took my arm. We're leaving, he said firmly. His voice was cold in a way I had rarely heard. My husband was the most patient, gentle man alive, but I could see the anger blazing in his eyes. I let him guide me toward the gate. The crowd parted silently. Some people looked sympathetic. Others looked shocked. A few seemed almost satisfied by the drama they had witnessed. As we reached the gate, I heard Jessica call out, "Margaret, wait!" But I didn't turn around. I couldn't. If I had looked back, if I had seen her face, I would have completely broken down in front of everyone. Thomas drove us home in silence. When we got inside, I finally let the tears come. I sobbed in my husband's arms, the kind of deep, painful crying that leaves you exhausted. I felt humiliated, rejected, and heartbroken. I had tried so hard to be a good mother-in-law, to respect Jessica's rules, to love her like a daughter. And this was how she truly felt about me. The next few days were torture. My phone buzzed constantly with messages. Daniel called multiple times, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. Thomas fielded the calls, telling our son that I needed time before I could talk. Some of the guests from the party reached out too. A few of my friends sent kind messages, saying they were sorry for what happened and asking if I was okay. But their sympathy only made it worse because it confirmed that everyone had witnessed my humiliation. About a week after the party, Daniel showed up at our door. He looked terrible, unshaven, with dark circles under his eyes. Thomas let him in, but I stayed on the couch, not sure what to say to my own son. "Mom," Daniel said, sitting down across from me, "I'm so sorry. What Jessica said was wrong. Completely, absolutely wrong. There's no excuse for it." I nodded but didn't speak. "She's been under a lot of stress," he continued. "Work has been intense, and she's been struggling with postpartum anxiety. She's been seeing a therapist, but she hasn't been managing it well. None of that excuses what she said, but I want you to understand that she wasn't herself. That's the thing about angry words. I finally said, my voice hoarse. They reveal what people really think. When someone is stressed or upset, their filters come down and the truth comes out. Jessica thinks I'm stupid. She thinks I'm overbearing and irrelevant. That's how she truly sees me. That's not true, Mom. She's... Daniel, I interrupted gently. I love you. You're my son, and nothing will ever change that. But I can't pretend this didn't happen. I can't keep showing up and try and be part of your family when your wife clearly doesn't want me there. She does want you there, Daniel insisted. She's been crying every day since the party. She knows she messed up. Then she should be here apologizing, not you, Thomas interjected. Your mother has bent over backward to accommodate Jessica's demands, to follow her rules, to be respectful and helpful. And Jessica repaid that by publicly humiliating her at a child's birthday party. That's not okay. Daniel looked between us helplessly. I know. I told her the same thing. She's scared you'll never forgive her. She's scared to face you. Good, I said, and I meant it. She should be scared. Actions have consequences, and words, especially cruel ones spoken in public, can't be taken back. Daniel left that day without the reconciliation he had hoped for. I felt bad for him, caught in the middle of this mess. But I also felt that Jessica needed to understand the weight of what she had done. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. Jessica sent me a long text message apologizing, but it felt hollow, words on a screen that required no courage to send. I didn't respond. Thomas and I settled into a new routine without our weekly visits with Emma. It hurt terribly. I missed my granddaughter with an ache that never went away. But I couldn't go back to the way things were, constantly walking on eggshells, always afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing. Then, 1 month after the party, Jessica showed up at our door. She looked awful. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore no makeup, and her eyes were red and swollen. She was holding Emma in her arms, and my granddaughter reached out toward me when she saw me, saying "Gamma" in her sweet little voice. The sight nearly broke my resolve. Margaret, Jessica said, her voice trembling. Please, I need to talk to you. I hesitated, but Thomas nodded. Let her speak, he said quietly. We sat in the living room, Emma on Jessica's lap, reaching for me. I kept my hands in my lap, afraid that if I held my granddaughter, I would forget how hurt I was. I've been going to therapy twice a week since the party, Jessica began. Not just because Daniel insisted, but because I finally admitted to myself that something is wrong with me. I've been diagnosed with postpartum anxiety and depression. I've started medication, and I've been doing a lot of work to understand why I treated you the way I did. She paused, wiping tears from her eyes. My therapist helped me realize that I've been projecting my own insecurities onto you. My mother died when I was young. I never had a mom to teach me how to be a mother. When Emma was born, I felt completely lost and terrified. And then there you were, so confident and experienced. And instead of accepting your help, I resented you for it. I listened without interrupting. I was jealous, Jessica continued. Jealous that you knew what to do when Emma cried, and I didn't. Jealous that you had this perfect relationship with Daniel. Jealous that you had a mother-daughter bond with your own mom that I never got to experience. So I pushed you away. I found fault with everything you did because it made me feel more in control, like I was the expert instead of you. Emma squirmed in Jessica's lap, still reaching for me. Jessica looked down at her daughter, fresh tears falling. And at the party, when you brought that beautiful rocking horse and that photo album, God, that photo album was so thoughtful, I just snapped. Because once again, there you were, being the perfect grandmother, making me feel inadequate. And instead of dealing with my own issues, I lashed out at you in the cruelest way possible. She looked up at me, her face full of genuine remorse. Calling you a stupid mother was the worst thing I've ever said to anyone. You're not stupid. You're wise and kind and patient. You're everything a mother should be, and everything I'm afraid I'm not. I'm so sorry, Margaret. I know sorry is enough. I know I humiliated you in front of everyone you care about. I know I probably destroyed any chance of us having a good relationship, but I had to come here and tell you the truth. Not excuses, the truth about why I acted that way. The room was quiet except for Emma's babbling. I looked at this young woman who had hurt me so deeply, and I saw something I hadn't allowed myself to see before. I saw someone struggling, someone scared, someone who needed help. Why didn't you tell me you were struggling? I asked softly. Jessica laughed bitterly. Because I was supposed to be the perfect mother, the perfect wife. I thought asking for help made me weak. And I was so worried you would judge me, that you would think I wasn't good enough for Daniel or good enough to raise Emma. I would never think that, I said, feeling my own tears start to fall. Jessica, being a mother is the hardest job in the world. Everyone struggles. Everyone doubts themselves. You could have come to me. I would have helped you, supported you, told you that you were doing a great job. I know that now, Jessica whispered. My therapist has helped me see that I build up this whole narrative in my head where you were the enemy, when really you just want to be part of our lives. I sabotage our relationship because of my own fears. Emma finally succeeded in reaching me, practically launching herself out of Jessica's arms. I caught her instinctively, and she immediately snuggled into my shoulder, putting her tiny hand on my cheek. The feel of her, the smell of her baby shampoo, the weight of her in my arms, it was almost too much. I miss you, Margaret, Jessica said quietly. Emma misses you, and I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness after what I did, but I'm begging you to give me a chance to make this right. Not for me. I deserve to lose you. But for Emma, she needs her grandmother. And honestly, I need you too. I need someone to show me how to be a mother, because I'm failing at it on my own. I looked at this broken young woman sitting across from me, and then at my beautiful granddaughter in my arms. I thought about all the hurt and humiliation I had endured. I thought about how easy it would be to say no, to protect myself from being hurt again. But then I thought about what kind of person I wanted to be, what kind of example I wanted to set for Emma, what kind of family I wanted us to be. Jessica, I said slowly, what you did at that party was unforgivable. You humiliated me in the worst possible way. You said things that can never be unsaid. And I'm not going to pretend that everything is fine now just because you apologize. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. But I continued, I can see that you're genuinely trying to change. I can see that you're getting help and working on yourself. And I believe that you're sorry. So while I can't forget what happened, I'm willing to try to forgive. Slowly, one day at a time. Jessica's face crumpled with relief. Thank you, she sobbed. Thank you so much. I don't deserve your kindness. No one ever deserves forgiveness, Thomas said gently from where he sat beside me. That's what makes it forgiveness. Over the next few months, Jessica and I rebuilt our relationship piece by piece. It wasn't easy. There were awkward moments and painful conversations. Jessica started inviting me over regularly, and this time she didn't hover when I held Emma. She asked for my advice on motherhood and actually listened to my suggestions. She apologized to everyone who had been at the party, explaining about her mental health struggles and taking full responsibility for her behavior. The turning point came about 6 months after Jessica's apology at our door. It was Mother's Day, and Jessica had planned a special brunch for me. When I arrived, I found that she had spent days preparing all of my favorite foods using the recipes I had taught her. But the real gift was what happened after we ate. Jessica presented me with a book she had made, a scrapbook filled with photos of Emma, but also photos of the two of us together. There were pictures from before the incident, during the tense times, and new ones from our healing process. Each page had a caption written by Jessica. The last page had a photo of the three of us, Jessica, Emma, and me, smiling together. The caption read, "To the mother I wish I had, and the grandmother Emma is blessed to have, thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. You are not a stupid mother. You are the smartest, kindest, most forgiving woman I know. I love you, Margaret. I hope one day I can be half the mother you are." I cried reading those words. They didn't erase the hurt, but they helped heal it. Today, 2 years after the birthday party incident, Jessica and I have a relationship I never imagined possible. It's honest in a way it never was before. She tells me when she's struggling, and I help without judgment. I share my feelings when something bothers me, and she listens. We both learned that healthy relationships require communication, boundaries, and grace. Jessica still sees her therapist and continues to work on her mental health. She's become an advocate for postpartum mental health awareness, speaking openly about her struggles to help other mothers feel less alone. She credits that terrible day at Emma's party as her wake-up call, the moment she realized she needed help. Daniel tells me he's never seen his wife happier or more confident. And Emma? She's a thriving 3-year-old who has a grandmother who adores her, and a mother who's learning that asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. I won't lie and say I've completely forgotten what Jessica said that day. The words, "stupid mother," still sting when I remember them. But I've learned that holding on to hurt only poisons the person carrying it. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting or excusing bad behavior. It's about choosing to move forward despite the pain. Jessica made a terrible mistake in a moment of mental health crisis. She owned it, she got help, and she spent every day since trying to be better. That's all any of us can do when we mess up. Acknowledge it, apologize sincerely, and do the work to change. Our family isn't perfect. We still have moments of tension and misunderstanding. But now we talk about them. We don't let resentment build. We give each other grace. And we remember that love, real love, means choosing each other even when it's hard. Last week, Jessica and Daniel told us they're expecting baby number 2. When Jessica shared the news, she immediately turned to me with tears in her eyes and said, "I'm going to need your help this time. I can't do it without you." I hugged her tight and whispered, "You never had to do it without me. I was always here. And I always will be, because that's what family does. We hurt each other sometimes. We say things we regret. We make mistakes. But if we're brave enough to admit when we're wrong, humble enough to ask for forgiveness, and strong enough to offer it, we can heal. We can grow. We can build something beautiful from the broken pieces. My name is Margaret Chun. My daughter-in-law called me a stupid mother in front of everyone I know. And I forgave her. Not because she deserved it, not because it was easy, but because holding on to hate would have cost me my family. And they're worth so much more than my wounded pride. Forgiveness doesn't mean the hurt never happened. It means you're choosing not to let that hurt define your future. And that choice, as difficult as it was, has given me back my son, my daughter-in-law, and most importantly, my precious relationship with my granddaughter. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt, but some can be reconstructed into something even stronger than before, if both people are willing to do the hard work. Jessica and I did that work. And now we have something I never thought possible after that terrible day. A genuine, loving relationship built on honesty, respect, and hard-won trust. That's worth everything.